Today we bring you the views of our experts on Africa's competitiveness. Dr. Paddy Njoku, Chairman of NECO. Mr. Nicholas Ezechia, President of Living Eyes International. And Mr. Martins Oloja, Editor-in-Chief, Guardian Newspapers. Please join us in our discussion. Well, thank you, Mr. Oloja. We're happy to have you on our show. Well, the last time we were talking about, we talked.
Yes.
We were talking about Africa's competitiveness. The institutions. What's the role of institutions? How important are institutions for competitiveness? And how do you think Africa is doing? And you can even bring it home to Nigeria. How is Africa doing in that regard? In other words, if you want to it seems to me, and people have said, that we give a lot more to individuals than we give to institutions, that the personality seems to be more important than institutions in Africa and in Nigeria. Could that be a contributory reason to why we're not as competitive as we could be?
Definitely, you see all over the place, when you open television, whether Western ones or local African television stations, or you open pages of newspapers in Africa, all the faces you see are faces of our leaders.
Yes.
And when you see people who give award, you know, Nigeria is a specialist in that. They give awards to all sorts of people. They look at personalities. They don't look at institutions.
Yeah.
And this must have influenced the view of President Obama when the first time he visited Africa.
Yeah.
He accused us of talking about strong men and not strong institutions.
You're right.
And that we should build strong institutions and not strong men.
Yeah.
Definitely all over Africa.
Yes.
And even in Nigeria, we have too many strong men. And they mention strong men. And if you do not know these strong men, you are not likely to get anything. You can't get even land, plots of land in Abuja where you can build anything. How do we
change that?
We need to we need to develop a crop of leaders that will emphasize institutions.
How do we do that? How do we do that development?
You see, the development is, first and foremost,
is it through school, or is it through civil society, or how do we do it?
You see,
by law, or how does it happen?
Definitely it is by law. By law, we begin by law, because it is the National Assembly, for instance, or the Parliament, that creates some of these true laws. But when you begin to allow the laws to rule, then you create these institutions. You not like this.
No. What I mean is, how can the law shift focus from strong men to institutions?
There are law enforcers. You have law enforcement institutions.
Yes.
But when strong men say, "Oh no, don't enforce the law," you can make calls. When somebody commits a crime, he makes a call to a strong man who talks to the strong man who is supposed to enforce the law. And you stop law enforcement.
So you kill institutional forces.
Yes.
So sometimes we could do well, but we don't have strong regulators, institutions that regulate.
That was what we were talking about, even telecoms company.
Yes.
Now telecoms companies that are supposed to call the operators to order.
Yes.
Now our regulators that are supposed to be strong institutions are defending the operators that are doing the wrong thing. When regulators start defending operators, that's a problem. You can't do that. I read in a journal in the United States where IRS, they said that it has the power to destroy. There's a book like that, The Power to Destroy. This IRS, they got 3.4 billion or thereabouts from a pharmaceutical company that used a device to transfer money from United States to another country. Transfer pricing mechanism. It used transfer pricing mechanism to take money out of the United States that they were caught. And they paid 3.4 billion naira just to settle out of court after so many years. I don't want to mention the pharmaceutical company, a big pharmaceutical company. So that is a strong, and nobody accused the United States government of trying to ruin a company. But if you breach the law, if the law rules, you won't find strong men. But where men rule, where man rules, there is no, you won't find good institution and strong institutions.
So where you have supremacy of man, where you have supremacy of man over institutions, does that mean that's where you have corruption?
Yeah, well, we have corruption, and you won't have institutions.
Okay. So which one comes before the other? Did the supremacy of man over institutions happen before corruption started, or the corruption happened and then engendered that?
No, definitely it is absence of enforcement that leads to this corruption. Because
I'm looking for a solution, is why I'm asking the question. So how do we now make sure that we tone down corruption so that we'll be able to have control over
definitely there should be
these
enforcement.
Things?
And the enforcement can only come from our leaders at all levels. We are not talking about the president. At all levels of our society.
Yes.
Whether you are a local government chairman, whether you're a governor, whether you are a corporation managing director, you're a bank managing director, once you allow the law to rule, we set for ourselves, maybe if we are board of directors, we say, we are going to be on this board for only 5 years. At the end of the first 5 years, the first man steps aside. And it comes on like that. There's a particular bank in Nigeria that has...
But wouldn't I then say, okay, I'm only going to be here for 5 years. So let me quickly the corner whatever I need to corner, since I know that I'm only going to be here for 5 years. But if the law and the rules in the books that govern them through the Corporate Affairs Commission, if they allow the laws and the regulations to rule them, you can't just do that. Anything,
there is corruption even in the West. Recently, I read a report from EU Commission. If there is corruption within the EU, I have a report like that. But you know, they have quickly documented that and they punish offenders. But there won't be any culture of impunity around them.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. There's something funny here, and I want you to try to speak to this. You know, we speak of, and the world speaks of Africa, Africa, Africa. But is it really, is it a monolithic, is it a united Africa that the world is dealing with? Or a partitioned, still partitioned Africa that the world is dealing with? Because I'm thinking that perhaps one reason for the so-called weakness of Africa is that there's this seeming wholeness to Africa coming as a united entity. But in reality, it is not. So when you invite African leaders, you are inviting Africa, but they're going as individual countries, looking to outcompete the other. Do you see that?
Yeah. Coming to the reality, the unity of Africa.
Yes.
The needs are still unified. The political entities are different.
True.
The languages are different. If you see the index, the poverty index in, for example, a French-speaking African country is virtually the same thing as another Spanish-speaking African country, a Portuguese-speaking African country, an English-speaking African country. They go as individual heads of state, but they have unified needs. So that when the man carrying a palm from there speaks one language, all of them understand that same language because it is the language of basic economics. Now, what bothers us is that in 1865, some people sat in Berlin and used their pains or their knives to divide the continent. Okay? 1 century after, their colleagues here and there are still summoning all the members of that continent. Have we made progress in that century? Have we been able to say, we've grown to the extent that, sir, if you now need us, you come to us.
Fine.
Or you come to our gathering.
Yes.
You come to an AU meeting and address us.
Yes. That's what one would think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the reality is different.
I mean, coming back to your question, the question you asked was, is Africa being treated as 52 different individuals, or is it as one continent? The answer to that, basically, it is currently individuals. Or as you say, with common interest. The issue that people have always been raised, Africa has to speak as one for it to be taken seriously, yes, on the global platform. They've tried to obviously inaugurate the AU
So that will make them strong. If you get a collection of 11 weak players, do you have a strong team?
No, you don't. But at the end of the day,
Interesting question.
But we have, put it so, we have about 51. At the end of the day, if they can speak on that, currently we're trading as we have North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa. Even within that, we're still subdivided. Until Africa comes together as one Africa, as a voice, be it an African Union that actually works politically, economically, it'll be able to trade on an even platform with the rest of the world. They can actually define
because where I was leading there is that I think that the individual countries should strive to become strong individually. Then when they come together, then you have a collection of 54 strong countries that have one voice. And that's why if you saw, even like with the EU, when they were looking to get membership, there were certain, and we're trying to do it in the ECOWAS region, there are certain criteria that you must meet in order to qualify to be a member of the union. You have to be like this. Because if you're not like that, you're a weak link.
Yeah, but there...
Well, people joined the EU.
Yes.
And in fact, some of the weakest links are currently suffering in the EU and have always been suffering.
Yeah,
So
but they had to meet certain criteria.
But the question becomes now, in wanting people to meet those criteria, how long will it take? We're no longer in for example, Africa is just the forgotten continent. Now we're in the front line. Now people are actually looking now. We want to do business with this country. So you really do not have time for let's get it right, let's practice. Let's do it collectively now and sort it as we go along.
Yeah, but I want to come in there because he's raising a very important question. We have about 4 or 5 different linguistic groupings among the countries of Africa.
Yes.
Those linguistic groupings have closer affinity to their
Parents.
So they are what?
colonial language masters.
Colonial masters.
Language
Okay, sorry. We're not going to be very diplomatic.
language.
Yeah, because I was afraid you were going there.
Okay.
All right.
Language
Okay.
masters.
Okay.
So much so that, to be frank, I've visited most of these countries.
Yes.
The average francophone African feels more at home with the person he's sharing the same camembert cheese with, the same cognac, the same champagne. They understand it. They have a subculture linking them,
Okay.
different from a continental culture. Then after that, they feel much more at home going to Paris than coming to Lagos or coming to Abuja or coming to Johannesburg. Because the moment they land in Johannesburg, they think they suffer a linguistic loss,
Okay.
which makes them feel that they are not as integral
Yes.
as they would be somewhere in Paris.
Yeah.
That creates a problem whether you like it or not.
Interesting point. Dr. Njoku, what general thoughts do you have for our viewers to chew on, to look at, to see how Africa can actually rise from weakness?
First is every African, just like I was telling Nick, must know that this is our continent. We cannot abandon it to government or abandon it to some colonial master somewhere. We must take the responsibility in our hands. One, don't say, oh, because government has not been able to do this. What you yourself can do as an individual, which I see you, Dr. Bako, doing, which I see you, I see your publication. These are individual efforts you are making at nation building. Let us not abandon responsibility, abdicate our own responsibility, and so because this government did not do it, if we continue doing like that, we may regret forever. So Africans, wherever they are, must know that God was not stupid in creating this continent and giving it to us, but He gave us a responsibility. The gift was wrapped in a responsibility, and that responsibility is taking charge ourselves and not staying back only to blame. That's my message.
I want to take charge of the studio now, and thank you so very much
Thank you
for
very
being
much
here today with us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you.
Extraordinary.